Welcome to Grip Grind Glory, where grapplers train with purpose and grow through the grind. And now, your host thought-provoker and fellow grinder, Anna Janovics.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Grip Grind Glory, the podcast. This is episode 17 and I have a very special guest for today who is Oscar Pearson from Judo Club. He's been in the club, Hajime Judo is our sister organization, or rather brother, and he's been with us for a couple of years. So I thought it would be time to interview him about his judo journey, but he also does Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so he's gonna talk about both on today's podcast. So enjoy and let me know what you think. Hi Oscar, thanks for coming to the studio. It's really nice to have you here. Do you want to start by introducing yourself and just give us a glimpse into your judo journey so far? When you started, what drew you to judo, and what's your experience with it so far?
Yeah, of course. Hi guys, I'm Oscar. I started training with Balázs in 2021. I met him at a jiu-jitsu club and it was a Friday class that I'd attend, and that's how I kind of came across judo. But my first martial art was Taekwondo. I started that in probably, I can't even remember, like 2015 or something like that, and I won nationals in that in 2019. I did kickboxing as well, sort of in the last 3 years of that. I competed in that a lot, and yeah, I'm just a part of the team. I run the Sunday classes and it's great.
So you're only 23, right?
3, yeah.
And you've already done, and you have been, doing two actively, but you've already done 4 different martial arts. What's your experience? I mean, how did each one of them follow? What made you change, and what's your biggest takeaways from each of them?
Yeah, so if I go through that sort of chronologically, my first martial art, Taekwondo, I'd say the biggest thing it gave me was kind of flexibility and sort of an attention to detail with movement. So in Taekwondo, the whole sport, you can't punch to the face at all. It was World Taekwondo Federation, what you see in the Olympics. And the whole thing is basically trying to kick and get points on your partner. So it was a point scoring striking art, but there was also things like patterns that you had to do for these belts and things. But I wasn't really into that. I was just I'd go to these events and I'd just try and like kick people, get more points and win competitions that way. And I met some really cool people. There was a guy called Bradley Sinden. He took silver at the Olympics. I met Jay Jones, who was quite famous at the time as well. I met tons of really cool people, and it was just sort of the first martial art that I did. But what got me into kickboxing was the fact that I kind of believed Taekwondo was incomplete. There was a point where after nationals I kind of fell out of love with it, just because I was kind of looking at it and it was almost like foot tag. So it didn't really feel like a fight to me. And I remember kind of why I first started martial arts, and I wanted it to be sort of a system of combat. So that's what kind of got me into kickboxing. And that really taught me sort of how to be disciplined. Like there is so much conditioning that goes into that. There's it's a whole different thing. I didn't know how to box before. I met really cool people with that, some Dutch kickboxers, and they taught me how to like throw leg kicks and use my kicks that I'd already learned in a more sort of combative environment that wasn't just scoring points. So that's kind of my striking history with that. But in terms of what judo and jiu-jitsu have taught me, it's sort of everything else. So the non-striking elements, it's taught me like it's so much stuff. It's like systematic. It's very more feely, I suppose. Like in kickboxing, it's very feely as well. You kind of see things that make you react a certain way, but in grappling, you're like hands-on with your partner. I'd say it's more sort of technical than just throwing kicks and punches in a way, because you really have to master the movement. You have to follow it through to completion, and you have to either 1, throw your partner and get ippon, or 2, throw them, take them down and submit them afterwards. So that's what I'd say the big difference is with all my martial arts were.
And so currently you train BJJ and Judo. What do you how do you feel they complement each other? Why did you start judo when you were already training BJJ and you loved it anyway?
Well, the judo was really just kind of an opportunity for me when I first saw it. So I'd say people have said this about me as well. I've got kind of a good eye when I can tell if someone's good at something. And as soon as I met Balaj, I saw the way he moved, how he was able to throw people. And I could tell like this guy is kind of a cut above the other people at this gym we were at, just because his movement's amazing. Like his throws, his technique is beautiful, and I really wanted to learn that. So I just kind of saw it as an opportunity. I kind of accepted that they're different sports. I've started judo sort of later in life. I think I was like 19 or 20 at the time when I met him. But I could still gain something from that, and it'd be great just to have such a high-level technician. I later found out, you know, he'd had all these achievements. He was like Hungarian champion. He was part of like the Olympic squad and stuff like that. So why would I not train with him? You know, it's amazing. But in terms of the way judo complements jiu-jitsu, I think a lot of jiu-jitsu people, unless you're at the very sort of top 1% of the world where these people are training with the likes of Satoshi Ishii or amazing wrestlers, they don't really know how to do takedowns. And if you look at good judokas like Balaj, he's been doing this as a kid. He's competed at some of the highest levels. He's going to know more about how to actually teach that. He's going to know the finer details like staying on the balls of your feet, how to move correctly, how to create kazushi differently than someone who is, I don't know, just doing jiu-jitsu comps where they're not really going to be able to take people down as well. So that's how I think judo complements jiu-jitsu. It's the entire standing portion and sort of the more traditional techniques of judo that kind of jiu-jitsu either adapted or modified and did their own way of doing things, but judo was the traditional martial art in that respect.
So you mentioned that you competed in Taekwondo and kickboxing back in the days. I suppose as far as I know, you also compete in BJJ as and when you feel like it, but not in judo, right?
No, I've never done a judo comp yet, so it's something that maybe down the line I'd like to do, but I appreciate that judo is so tough, and when you're in competition, like I know a lot of people that there's a good chance of getting injured if you're not doing it full time, if you don't have the time put in to really prepare yourself for that competition. And because I've just kind of graduated uni, I've done a law degree, I've been doing jiu-jitsu comps and things, I've just not really felt comfortable. I'm pretty humble in saying that, one, I don't think I could really win it that easily, and two, I don't think I'm well conditioned enough to say, oh, I'm safe enough to not get injured as likely, you know, in competition. But that's something I'm not opposed to doing down the line. I'm very happy to compete in everything, so it's just a training process for me. I'd like to really devote the time to that.
So there must be some other ways that you consider. What do you consider winning in judo these days? It's not in competitions, but there must be other wins for, you know, from your day-to-day training, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I train, well, now that I'm back from university, I can train judo loads more, which is great. So for that criteria, the stuff might change. But for me, the wins in judo are, one, my athleticism. Like, it makes you so fit and stuff. Like, I remember in the holidays, I'd come back from university where I'd be training my nogi grappling and jiu-jitsu and stuff. And as soon as I'd do a couple judo sessions, I'd go back and I'd be really strong. Like the guys who are physically stronger than me at Kaizen, which is the gym in Lancaster, I'd come back and I was able to like manhandle them sometimes, whereas usually I'd have to try and out-technique them because they'd have so much more strength advantage. But when I'd go to judo, I'd feel like a pump about me. So for me, the physical side of judo, where I'm getting physically fitter, is great. But also the technical side, like doing throws I wouldn't normally be able to do. I mean, when I go away from judo, I'm thinking about how to perform sayonagi better. I'm trying to study tapes and things like this. I'm happy to ask Balaj questions when we're there of stuff that I either can't do when I was training at this other gym or not. But for me, the wins as well is performing movements and having success with things that I couldn't do before. So it's learning new things, but also getting physically fitter and stronger. I think that's something greatly overlooked in martial arts these days, the fitness aspect.
Okay, so talking about martial arts these days, we are from two different generations. So I'd like to ask you how you see your generation's approach to martial arts compared to the old school, like my kind of old school approach.
I think the biggest difference is like people want things quicker these days, sort of thing, and that can be good or bad. So, for example, if you look at people like, I don't know, Josh Saunders or Joseph Chen in jiu-jitsu, these guys are competing at ADCC, having trained just sort of a couple of years. They've gotten really good very quick. So I think it's a good thing people have this attitude of trying to do things efficiently and getting things done as quick as possible. But at the same time, there's sort of something to be said about accepting that things don't come easy, and that in order to have a world-class Ippon Seoinage like Balaj, you need many decades of practicing that move. And I think people today, if they don't get it within maybe a couple of months, they just kind of give up on it, and then they back away from that. So I think that's a big thing that people aren't willing to accept. Even myself, I don't think I'm mentally as tough as maybe the older generation, just because there's so much either jiu-jitsu content or judo content online saying like, oh, you just have to do this, you just have to, there's an easy hack to fix things. Whereas I think to really build mastery, you need that long-term commitment to stuff, and it isn't an easy route to simply gain a world-class throw that you could hit on elite level competition.
Does this mean you think that younger people, younger generations avoid hard things, or they're still happy to take on hard things? They're just not as persistent with it?
Mm. I think that's definitely a case for the majority of people I've met sort of in this country and Holland, which is where I was born as well. I think people, the younger generation, there's so much stuff on social media. You've got these influencers who are young, sort of my age. They've got a Lamborghini, they've got this like fancy Airjet and stuff. And I think people see that, and that they're not kind of realizing that, one, it's a very small exception of people that are like that, but two, I think people only put out the best moments of their life online. Like they'll put the highlight reels of them winning one competition. They won't show the previous competition where they got ankle locked in 20 seconds, for example. So people have this expectation of they need to be incredible all the time, when in reality, something incredible happens maybe once every 2 years or something like that. So the majority of your life is going to be ordinary or tough, and you're going to be losing or you're going to be average. But everyone wants to be this exceptional thing and isn't willing to sort of put in the effort to get there, because they don't see it that way. The world is presented to them through a lens of, these are excellent people, you must be like that, you must always be doing something excellent. And in reality, it's a small minority who are like that.
So people, when I suppose, as you say as well, when it gets tough and they would have to put some stuff on the line, they just generally quit. Has there been a time in your martial arts journey, or in your life general, when you wanted to quit but didn't?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so many moments were like that. Like in Taekwondo, I had I was in school at the time, and I had a terrible rugby incident where some studs on the boot, so these like sharp metal pins and things, went into my sort of calf area, and it really damaged my tendon. I had a national championship coming up 2 months before that, and I had to rehab it. I had to switch my stance, so I'd go from orthodox to southpaw, so I was fighting from a different angle altogether, and I was somehow able to get a second in that. But there were things like injuries, the stuff you see online where people do like flying scissors in jiu-jitsu. There's shoulder injuries in judo where people get launched either on their head or shoulder and they get injured that way. And when you see that, it does make you think like, you've only got one life. What's the point of these injuries and things like that? And I've had kickboxing as well, where I've been concussed either in training or competition, and there's been moments like that which have made me either stop the martial art completely or have kind of made me really reevaluate my thoughts with that. But I think martial arts as well, it's something that if you really like it, you don't give up on it. You can sort of switch the form like I did, where I went from Taekwondo and kickboxing it purely into grappling, and I've kind of accepted that I don't really want to be a pro at this, but I'm willing to kind of make this my entire free time in life, where I don't have a job, I don't have family commitments and things. So I think there are definitely moments that make you reconsider and reevaluate your life, but if you really love the martial art, you're willing to find solutions to these problems. And it's like in jiu-jitsu, there's a way to kind of not necessarily completely mitigate the threats of like jumping scissors where it can blow your knee out and things, but there are ways where you can study things to make accidents like this less likely, and you can train in a safe way where injuries and things like that are more preventable.
In those moments, what kept you going? What keeps you coming back to martial arts? what is your motivation? What is your why to do it, to do any of it?
I suppose there isn't really an easy way to answer this with words. It's just that I kind of love the sport. So it's like I love competing. I love what martial arts represent. And even if I suffered some catastrophic injuries, I think eventually I'd come back to it, or I'd be studying it. I'd be watching everything. I'd be watching all the competitions and things. So it's kind of just my passion for it. I love martial arts more than it can hurt me, which sounds like a very sort of abusive relationship, but I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. I really like it. I get a passion out of it. So even if I get hurt a bit, it's still ultimately worth it. And you just accept the risk before it happens. And then you can't say you didn't know. So
in terms of culture, let's go back to BJJ and Judo because that's your current experience. What do you think each art could learn from the other in terms of culture?
In terms of culture, I think it really depends on the gym, but in terms of what the public face of sort of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo and things, I think BJJ could learn from Judo to be sort of more stoic, to be more hardworking, and to implement more physical discipline, I'd say, in general. Like, obviously, there are some Jiu-Jitsu gyms out there which do that, and they have very good success and things like that. But I think the physical aspect and the idea of just showing basic respect, not trying to injure your training partners, doing things a safe way, like learning break falls for a year. That was one of the first things I did in Judo. I was so scared of being thrown, but I still wanted to do it, that I just said to Balaj, like, look, I just need to learn how to do break falls for a year or something. So can you just like throw me? And just, I accepted the throw. I didn't have an ego about me of where I wanted to get good really quick. I was like, let's just do this a safe and proper way. If I have to spend a year or two learning break falls to get good, I know I'm not learning how to throw anyone, but this is for the longevity of myself. I'll do it this way. And I think Judo really has that good approach of teaching people from a young age or from when they start to do things safely and to not get injured. But in terms of what Jiu-Jitsu I think could offer, I think it's more detail. So I see a lot of Judo people, even first dans or second dans, they don't have necessarily as in-depth groundwork as some of these other grapplers. And I've met these people, I've trained with them firsthand, so I think it's fair for me to say that. Maybe it was just their gym or something. But I think there is an approach of sort of systematizing and demystifying some of the like aspects of Judo where you think, well, how did they do that? And the judoka's response is maybe, oh, I just practiced it. I did reps. Like, I think BJJ applies a more sort of, maybe it's just a John Danaher way, but maybe he applies a very sort of more mechanical way of where he breaks it down step by step into things. So I think Jiu-Jitsu does a better job of that, but I think it also depends on the gym. There are some Jiu-Jitsu gyms that will do that better than Judo. There will be some Judo gyms that really show the difference between like a proper good Judo school and a bad Jiu-Jitsu school. So I think it's a really case-by-case basis, but that's the overall approach.
Yeah, I think it could be, down to rule set of competitions, and that's why Judo is not as focused on groundwork, maybe. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But talking about competitions, which one do you think is more exciting for the audience, for the viewers?
Yeah, I think in terms of gi jiu-jitsu and gi judo, it's not even close. Gi judo is so much more exciting unless you're one of these very niche people who compete in gi jiu-jitsu where they have to sort of, that they like seeing the grip fight and spider and lasso guard and stuff like this. But I think gi judo, it's more exciting for a layman to watch who doesn't know the sport. You see a big throw, you see a good clear rip on, or you see someone getting pinned for a couple seconds or submitted. There's a clear winner there. But I think with things like wrestling as well, or the CJI Jiu-Jitsu rule set, which is very exciting, very high pace, I think some of those matches can definitely trump Judo matches as well. But I think Judo is a very clear, simple concept. There are some banned moves. You must get an ippon, or you can win by a wazari, a hold, or a submission. Whereas in Jiu-Jitsu, sometimes it can get very boring. You don't know who's winning. You're in kind of this sort of 50-50 position, and the crowd can maybe get put off by that. So I'd say ultimately, Judo is the clear winner against gi jiu-jitsu, bar maybe a couple matches or competitors. But in terms of no-gi, it's really your choice. Do you like seeing big throws in gi jiu-jitsu, or do you like seeing, judo, or do you like seeing sort of leg locks and back takes and crazy moves in no-gi? So it's really a personal preference, but judo in the gi is way more interesting than jiu-jitsu in the gi.
Thank you. If you could design your own hybrid rule set, obviously with all your experience, what would it look like for you? That's really exciting for, to just watch from the outside, and for the competitors as well to do it.
In terms of either judo and jiu-jitsu, I think the idea that Craig Jones or Karate Combat had of having a pit where people can't walk out of bounds, I think that's a very interesting thing. You don't see it too much in judo because there are penalties and things if people go outside of the mats. But sometimes, especially in jiu-jitsu, that can happen. So I think having kind of this sort of gladiatorial coliseum arena where you can't go out of bounds, I think that's a very good thing to have in any sort of rule set, because it stops people from running away or stalling and things like that. In terms of the ultimate rule set, I can't really think of one. If it's no-gi, it would look very different. In judo, it would be great to sort of see things continue more on the ground. I think modern competition, that there's kind of been a loss in terms of old school judo versus new school judo with the newaza and things like the transitions, because everyone these days is kind of going for more ippon, and then they stall in turtle a bit. Maybe in the perfect gi rule set, after judokas turn to turtle, maybe there could be more ground time for the newaza to happen and things, but I think it's kind of an impossible question. If it would be no gi, that wouldn't apply, of course. So I think the ultimate rule set's very hard, but having a coliseum sort of arena where people can't go out of bounds and allows maybe more time for things on the ground to happen, that would be two aspects I'd definitely add in the rule set for things like judo.
Very interesting, thank you. In terms of your future in martial arts, you're obviously very young, so you might have not thought of it, but where do you want martial arts in general to take you? It doesn't matter whether you think about your, BJJ or judo or something else in the future. Do you see yourself, coaching, competing, lifestyle, community? In what realm of martial arts do you see yourself mainly?
So I wouldn't see myself as like a super seasoned competitor or anything, but I would still like to do competition, just like maybe 3 a year sort of thing. That would be ideal now that my university's finished and things. I'd like to do a judo competition at some point once I've kind of worked my way up to that. My no-gi I'd like to do sort of 3 times a year as well, maybe a competition at each belt at least. I'd like to try and win. I've done one at white belt. I'm competing again November 2nd in no-gi, so in terms of competition, I'd always like to keep my feet in there sort of thing, even though I'm not going to be the next sort of Gordon Ryan or Craig Jones or some elite level competitor. But really, I just kind of want to be able to beat the past version of myself. So it's not a competition of, if I go into a comp and I face these elite level guys, of course I'm not going to win because they're doing it their whole life. I'll have a job. I'll be trying to help other people in my gym get better. So there's a coaching aspect there too, maybe, of where I want to get my friends like Dan Hibbert, Ryan Key, Ed Lee and stuff. I want to get them just as good as me, and I want them to be winning comps too. So I want to be winning the occasional comp. But I'd also like to help my teammates, and I'd like to grow Hajime Judo Club as well, because I think it's a great thing. So I'd like to bring sort of more traditional values from judo back into sort of no-gi grappling and things, but also keep the technique and competition very much high level.
So you mentioned that you run a no-gi grappling class on Sundays. I'm just wondering how you combine your BJJ and judo experience in those classes, if you do at all.
Yeah, so I'd say a lot of my stuff has been influenced by a guy called Luke Wilding, who's like a really amazing grappler. Like, he trains with the best people in jiu-jitsu. He trains with amazing wrestlers and amazing judokas. There's a guy called Dima Muravani. In the $1 million tournament, he coached Nicky Rod. He coached J-Rod to get silver at ADCC as well. So he has got these links with amazing people, and he kind of guided me to sort of play games around things. So, for example, grip fighting, there's something by Kit Dale on YouTube where it's like playing games and things like that. And Luke taught me all of these niche details. I made notes of all of it. And by studying with him for like 3 years, he's a big influence in my teaching style. So I'm not really giving much from that I've kind of invented. I'm giving stuff from what really good people have taught me. And Kieran O'Brien, again, a European champ, Polaris winner and things, he says like my memory is really good. So when he saw me running a class, he kind of encouraged me to be like, your memory's amazing. Michael Wood said it as well. So I've got kind of credit from these really good grapplers where I can remember these details. And that's kind of what I bring to my classes. I bring these details, but I also bring a more sort of game-based approach. So we might play a very simple game of you can't grip your partner's wrist or anything, but you're just going to basically use guard retention to keep things here. After 15 minutes of this and changing the rules of the game, people get better at games the more they play it. So they get better at these sort of niche systems. And then afterwards, I'll throw in a bit of technique when all of this becomes sort of second habit. So I try and make things as much as I can sort of passive movement. So in a competition when people are grip fighting, they shouldn't be thinking about that. They should be thinking about how to use a system on them. But it helps them if sort of grip fighting becomes very passive and instinctive to them. They don't have to think about it. They can operate on a sort of higher level. And that's kind of what 99% of my training is based around.
Okay, because on the Grip Grind Glory podcast, I thought you could tell us what each of these words mean to you in your life: grip, grind, and glory. Go on.
Well, a grip, I think in judo, you need a grip in order to really do a throw. There's maybe one cool Korean guy where he uses his opponent's grips against him, but ultimately you need connection. And I think if you apply that more sort of philosophically to life, it's kind of that first step. You need to sort of make a connection and get a good, strong grip on something in order for it to work. And then the grind, it's very simple. Stuff doesn't come easy. So if I want a really technical, even if it's an easy move that feels sort of weightless like a butterfly sweep, there's going to be people who can shut that down when you're first trying to learn it. So the grind is really trying to bring something to technical perfection. So the grip, you must go for something. You must take that initial step to try and either learn that or pursue it. The grind, I suppose, is accepting that it's going to be tough at first. You're not going to have a world-class sweep or a throw after just 5 years of doing it. You might need 10 years. You need a lot of practice to hit that on the best in the world. And then glory, it's great. It's after the grind, you've got the results you've wanted. You've reached a very high level of technical perfection with a move. So I think to me, it sounds like a process. You must go for something first. It's going to be tough getting there, but ultimately it's worth it. You get the glory at the end. So that's what it means to me.
Yeah, very good. It's similar to what it means to me as well. And that's a wrap for today. But before we leave, Oscar, I have 10 quick fire questions for you. Okay, if you're ready, I'm gonna expect some really quick answers today. Okay, don't think too much. Breaking a grip in judo or breaking out of side control in BJJ? Which one is harder?
Breaking grip in judo, especially when it's barrage. Yeah.
If judo had walkout songs like MMA, what would yours be?
It'd probably be Hajime by Best Track, because, Hajime is the name of the club. Yeah.
Which hurts more, a fail throw landing flat or a gi burn on the neck?
Failed throw, definitely.
If you had to eat one food before every training session forever, what would it be?
Cashew nuts.
Interesting. Would you rather fight one giant white belt in judo or 10 tiny black belts?
One giant white belt.
Yeah, agreed. Who guesses out faster? Judo players in BJJ or BJJ players in judo?
Who guesses out faster? BJJ players in judo, definitely.
Taekwondo kicks or judo sweeps? Which looks cooler on Instagram?
I'm sorry, the Taekwondo kicks look cooler.
And how about judo throws and Taekwondo kicks?
Judo throws are better, for sure.
What's the worst excuse you've ever used to skip training, if you ever have?
I I don't skip training.
I knew you'd say that. If you could invent a hybrid sport of all the martial arts you've ever done, what would you call it?
That's a good question. I need to think quick. I don't know, the Hajime system or something like that. It'd be like MMA, but you couldn't punch to the head, so it'd be like Judo, but with more emphasis on judo throws. Yeah.
Okay. Finish this sentence, and this is the last one. Grip, grind, glory means?
Hard work.
Thank you, Oscar. Thanks for being here with us today. We're really grateful to have you on our journey of martial arts, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for your attention, guys, today. This is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in a week, and until then, let's grip, grind, and glory. Bye.